From the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
You're welcome to the primetime news bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. In this edition, chairman of the country's two main political parties emerged from a closed-door meeting with national security to pledge not to condone acts of lawlessness by their members. University Senior Staff Association announces strike from Monday over what it describes as concerns with the migration of its members onto the single spine salary structure. More than 200 pupils of Tamale MA Primary left without a school after the Lands Commission demolished the building to pave way for a redevelopment scheme. If you've ever wondered how safe the high-rise structures gradually defining across Skyline are, you're not alone. We'll also bring you excerpts of yesterday's much talked about Supreme Court proceedings, which offered viewers bouts of humor they didn't have to pay to enjoy. There's also business, sports, showbiz, and international news all coming up.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
In our very first story, the chairman of the two leading political parties, the NDC and MPP, have pledged not to condone unlawful acts by their party members. The two, after a closed-door meeting with officials of national security, told the media they will continue to engage their supporters to accept the verdict of the Supreme Court and refrain from acts of violence.
Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Kwabena J, together with his counterpart from the New Patriotic Party, Jacob Echebi-Lamte, spent almost 2 hours with national security officials deliberating on how best the actions and emotions of Ghanaians could be managed after the outcome of the election petition hearing.
Because you know that the verdict, somebody will get what they want or part of what they want, somebody will not. Okay, and we will be the ones who have to manage the disappointment or deal with the appointment, because even the appointment will bring calls for celebration, and how we will make sure that those celebrations are not used to taunt anybody else and therefore provoke any violence. We are both of us, extremely committed to the well-being of this country, committed therefore to the peace of this country, and we're talking about real measures that we can take towards making sure that we, all of us, can sleep well at night, get up in the morning and deal with how we can improve our lives and keep moving forward.
For them, ensuring a stable nation in the run-up to the Supreme Court verdict remains critical, and hence will not defend any acts of lawlessness.
We're both there, and we agree that we will not hide any of our members who does wrong. You understand? In any political party, there are the doves and then there are the hawks. Within our party, we know the hawks and we know the doves. And if we identify one to be a potential trouble causer, doing something that the majority would not do given the initiatives that have been mobilized to this stage, we'll give him away to the authorities.
The national security, they said, had assured them of their readiness to maintain law and order in the country without using full force, and called on the public to cooperate with them. They also asked the media to control the speech of those they engage on their networks in order not to spark any violence.
Okay, we are on the ground. Okay, the securities are also on the ground, so we can share information about what are some of the potential hotspots, about also critically within the media, getting the media to help us to lessen the tension in the country, so that those who come and speak very loosely can stop speaking quite so loosely. Okay, working with the media. We don't want to take people's free speech away.
There is a stage in the life of a nation when it's almost come to the level or the precipice of violence. But good people like me and him, stop it. Let all of us resolve, and you in particular, help us to resolve. Let us bring the political temperature down. As much as possible, try to caution people who want to inflame passions. You understand? Because those ones will be the first to run when there is crisis.
In another development, President of the Legal Advocacy Foundation, Dr. Maurice Ampao, says the MPP General Secretary's criminal conviction could have cost him his license if he had been jailed. He insists the General Legal Council would have taken action if the Supreme Court justices had imposed custodial sentence.
So you realize that John Apondo had it easy. And when he asked him, look at what he said. He said, I've been humbled. You realize, he used the word, he said, look, I've gone through fire. And he realized that, look, he has done the worst thing in his life. And the effect on his profession as a lawyer. You know, the judges were saying that look at you, a senior lawyer, for almost about 30 years of practice. You have not said a good syntax to your genius. And then look at his good to your profession. He was very lucky that he did not refer his conduct to the General Legal Council.
Right.
It was left for his license to be withdrawn. And then also his name will be struck out from the roll of lawyers. And then you know, it's also this thing is going to affect his political career, because when he wants to do re-elections, his opponent will use it against him. He will say that, look, you have brought the party into disrepute. So the party can sanction you.
Right.
And so it's a serious issue that Sir John has not having easy. And I think we all have to applaud the justices and the way they handled the case. Everybody, Ghana is a winner today.
In other news, the Federation of Universities Senior Staff Associations of Ghana, FUSAG, has announced an indefinite nationwide strike at all public universities beginning Monday, August 19, 2013. FUSAG says its members will only return to work after concerns relating to their migration onto the single-spine salary structure are addressed. The National Executive Council of FUSAG took the decision at an emergency meeting on Thursday, August 15. The meeting also deliberated on an earlier press statement issued on 31st July and outstanding salary arrears of hospital staff. FUSAG said it will withdraw the services of all senior staff, including nurses, pharmacists, hospital laboratory technologists, school teachers, cashiers and security officers. The members of NEC urged the Vice-Chancellor's Ghana government and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to take steps to address the concerns to restore industrial harmony and avoid further disruption of the academic calendar of public universities. Deputy Upper West Regional Minister Abu Kabibata Kasangbata is worried the residential quarters of nurses at Wa are now being turned into drinking spots by current occupants. He has warned those tenants they will be evicted if they don't stop the practice. Mr. Kasangbata gave the warning at a week celebration of nurses and midwives in the Upper West region. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
The Nurses and Midwives Week celebration affords members the opportunity to form partnership with stakeholders and also deliberate on important issues that will promote best practices and enhance existing strengths of the country's health system. It was celebrated on the theme Closing the Gap, Millennium Development Goals 4, 5 and 6. The Upper West Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Alexis Nangbefuba, acknowledged there's been a dramatic improvement within the past decade towards achieving these goals despite the challenges.
A woman goes through pregnancy 9 months and comes to deliver a dead child. We call them neonatal deaths. They are the one causing us not to reach the Millennium Development Goal target. So if we all put our hands on deck with this Japanese also here to support, we can make it a point that every community health nurse is assigned to an electoral area. And the assemblyman, the community health nurse, the chief, everybody, they know all pregnant women. You have their numbers, call them. When you're in labor, they arrange and send you to the hospital.
Deputy Upper West Regional Minister Abu Kabir Bata Kasambata underscored the importance of the nursing profession in the country and assured that the government is committed to addressing their challenges.
I can assist, my doors are open, but when it comes to this issue, we are very crazy in respect of this matter. It's no good area. You can decide to leave, you can decide not to vote for any government, but the right thing must be done.
He was not happy that the nurses' quarters are being turned into drinking spots.
That is unfortunate. That is not a vision of people who lay their life, people who have positive vision for Ghana Health Service.
A 28-year-old Lance Corporal with the Kakito police station in Asare has been arrested for armed robbery. Announcing this at a news conference in Accra, the Police Criminal Investigations Department said an accomplice of the errant cop is currently at large.
At the police CID headquarters, the Director General of Police CID, COP Prosper Agbo, described how Lance Corporal Benjamin Tekute was found out.
On August 4th, 2013, at 10 p.m., Xiang Men, a Chinese national, driving a Nissan pickup with registration number CD 2665X from Spinters Road towards the Chinese embassy at the airport residential area with two other Chinese friends on board. At the Tetekwashi interchange, two men wearing dresses similar to police uniform, and one of them armed with an AK-47 rifle, attacked and robbed the said Chinese nationals of 500 Ghana cedis and two mobile phones and drove away their Nissan pickup. Intelligence gathered thereafter indicated that it was number 43506 G. Lance Corporal Benjamin Tekute of Kakito Police Station under the Ashaman Division and his civilian friend Patrick Kobe, who robbed the Chinese nationals.
COP Prosper Agbo entreated members of the public to continue to repose their confidence in the police service, since it is working to weed out bad officers.
Do not lose faith in the Ghana Police Service, your service, because of criminal acts of a few errant officers. The service abounds in men of integrity, and the police administration is on the warpath to purge the service of miscreants. Permit me, therefore, to use this platform to sound a word of caution to criminal elements within our midst to repent and turn over a new leaf, else the long arm of the law will catch up with them.
Meanwhile, the police says it will vigorously pursue the officer's accomplice, Patrick Kobe, to book.
We're taking a break. We have more stories coming up. Don't go away. The growth in changes in Ghana's architecture has not only affected roads, but building designs and materials and the plot sizes on which they are erected. Most noticeably is the springing up of several high-rise buildings in Accra in various shapes and forms. But as Joy News' Eric Curtis Howard reports, concerns are still rife over how safe some of these buildings are, especially after the collapse of some structures not so long ago.
On a typical drive around the airport city in Accra, one cannot help but notice the springing up of several high-rise buildings in the city. The sparkling Silver Star Tower, the 3-star Holiday Inn Hotel, and the magnificent UT Bank and Vodafone buildings are some of the few signature structures already causing people's imagination to go wow. The airport city is not alone, and even before the birth of the airport city, structures like the City House building, the National Theatre and Trust Towers graced the skylines of Accra. Around the capital, it is now common to see the construction of several tall buildings like the 11-story office complex being constructed by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and the National Data Center being constructed by the Ministry of Communications. Once upon a time, the skylines of Accra were plain and void, but over the past 2 decades, Accra's skyline has undergone extensive development, thus transforming the city into a modern one. This development has created a compelling and beautiful outlook of the city. But like the saying goes, all that glitters is not gold. Concerns about the safety, structural integrity, energy efficiency, and environmental friendliness of these buildings came under questioning on the day of the Melcombe disaster.
Yes, you will see that a lot of the buildings have glazing all around. We are not saying that glazing per se is bad, but where it is used and how it is used. You see, you could put up a glass building in Ghana, but you will need to do the proper engineering to make sure that the direct sunlight does not heat up the glass to disturb the ambience within. You understand? In this case, then you'll be talking about shading devices and all that. After which, when you finish, you will not even see the glass if you have to consider all these things. That is why people say that the buildings we are seeing here are not environmentally friendly. No, they have to be properly engineered to cut out the sun's heat and then make the room temperature comfortable for work to be done.
The question on the minds of many is how safe these buildings are.
People try to avoid the professionals who have spent many years, to train, not for themselves, but to help the general public put in projects or investments that will bring them returns on their money. They rather move away and do their own thing. And in the end, they make all these mistakes and make their buildings uninhabitable and then tend to blame it on the materials and the architects they use. I can assure you that not every building you see here in Ghana is designed and supervised by an architect.
Another issue of worry is the haphazard way several buildings in the capital are being put up. The Institute of Architects believes it behoves on the city authorities to enforce the laws to ensure development in the capital is planned and intentional.
If you look at individual houses who specifically go according to his tastes and therefore requirements, it's the architect who should guide him to make sure that he develops the thing, first of all, according to the standards, and then to meet the client tastes. And if you come into estate development, they have done something and they are selling on mass scale. So that one, you don't have a choice. You have to accept what they are giving you. Those are the areas where we have maybe some, because of economic benefits, they do not, in some cases, meet all the standards by way of sizes and spaces. And
officials want the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to enforce its building regulations code to ensure all buildings, especially the high-rise ones, satisfy all the necessary safety requirements to avert any potential Melcombe-like disaster.
Elsewhere, the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly Girls Primary School has been demolished in an exercise by the Lands Commission, leaving the more than 200 pupils without a school for now. The exercise, under the supervision of heavily armed military personnel at the old Caladan Barracks, comes at a time schools are on recess.
The Tamale MA Girls Primary School, the only girls' primary school in Northern Region with a student population of more than 200 pupils, was pulled down after the Lands Commission served eviction orders on the school to vacate the property to make way for a redevelopment scheme for the metropolis. The headmaster, Abayarouk Joseph, tells Joy News The pupils have been asked to look for alternative schools because, though he duly informed his superiors about the impending eviction, no action was taken.
When they got the reminder, I called the former students. No roof. As you can see, the demolition. They can't come and sit under the trees. They will need a classroom to sit.
He said, quote, "When the eviction notice was served to us, I wrote to my superior bosses informing them, as you can see, there are no more classrooms and the children cannot come and sit under trees," unquote. Also affected in the exercise are the homes of over 100 retired soldiers. The Lands Commission in the eviction notice said the plan in the redevelopment scheme involves rezoning the Kaladan barracks lands through proper planning and decongesting the central business district of Tamale to make the area a first-class commercial hub of the city as a gateway to the metropolis. But Tamale District Chairman of the Veterans Association of Ghana, Major Retired Alhassan Jetuma, described the Lands Commission's action as callous, insensitive and inhumane. He said a lot of his colleagues are now scampering for accommodation, having been rendered homeless by the Lands Commission. The TMA Girls Primary School is the second such school to be demolished in recent times. The Al-Islahiyya English and Arabic School was also razed to the ground in similar fashion early this year.
Senior high school students in the Central Tongu district have been challenged to see education as the one sure way to escape poverty. Director of the Road Fund, Franklin Agbanato, whilst donating textbooks to the Adidome and Mafikumase senior high schools, expressed concern about the lack of interest in reading among students.
The Road Fund director, a native, said the books, valued at 7,000 Ghana cedis, is his contribution to education in the area and hoped it will help to inculcate the habit of reading and broaden the students' knowledge.
I have observed many young ones, after finishing their senior secondary school, they approach, "We want a job. Can you help us get into a higher school or a higher educational, climb up the higher educational ladder?" And when they bring their results, it is nothing to write home about. So we realize that if this is what is coming out of the schools, then there is a problem. We will have a lot of youth that will have passed through second cycle schools but will have nothing to continue their education with. So I was motivated and think that providing them with books will help solve one of these problems.
The headmaster of the Adidome Senior High School, Elias Kweku Avo, promised the books would be put to good use while calling on other organizations and individuals to help them. Mr. Agbanato also donated textbooks worth 4,800 cedis to the Mafi Kumasi Senior Technical School, which he said had put in a request for assistance. The headmaster, Ahiaklo Kes Kweku Mensa, noted the textbooks have come at a time when the school needed them to boost effective teaching and learning. He called on the students to reciprocate the gesture by improving their academic performance.
Osei Asare will join us shortly with business news.
Good evening and welcome to the business news with me, Osei Asare. In our first story, commercial banks who want to start business in Ghana would soon be required to have a minimum capital of 120 million cedis. Rural banks are also required to have a stated capital of 300,000 cedis from 150,000, whilst non-bank financial institutions would have to up their capital by as much as 100% to 15 million cedis. First Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Melissa Na, announced this at the Ghana Association of Bankers business luncheon today. He later explained to Joy Business this is to ensure the banks are well capitalized to undertake bigger transactions. My colleague George Rafi joins me in the studios with further clarifications on this particular one. Good evening to you, George.
Good evening, Pakwesi.
So what exactly were the reasons given for this?
Well, basically, the Bank of Ghana wants to promote some kind of financial soundness in the banking sector. They want to ensure that indeed the commercial banks in this country can indeed undertake big ticket transactions so that they could finance the oil imports, the rice imports and all those. And I think that the time has come to ensure that new entrants as well as those who are within the market have certain capital.
Right, and so this is going to take effect very soon?
Well, the argument is that we don't know the deadline because the first deputy governor was saying that as soon as it is gazetted. But what we've also gathered is that basically there need to be some industry engagement before. So if we don't have that industry engagement, then we might not see the capital going up. But what we gather is that very, very soon. Again, another question that you asked me is that what does it mean for depositors and businesses? Now, you know that there's a system we call the single obligor limit, that a bank cannot lend more than a certain percentage with respect to its capital. So a bank that has a minimum capital about 60 million Ghana cedis can lend more than 20% of their capital to an individual. So what is going to happen is that now that they are well capitalized, I don't need to go through that stress of shopping around for like 5 or 6 banks to bring in an oil import. So I could go to just one bank and do that. For the rural banks and the non-bank financial institutions, it also means that basically a tabletop business, I could just go to one institution and then get that credit from that institution.
Thanks very much, George Rafi, as my colleague on the business team. Well, to other news, the managing director of GCB, Simon Donu, has been elected as a new president of the Ghana Association of Bankers. Mr. Donu, who was elected at the annual general meeting of the association today, takes over from managing director of HFC Bank, Asare Kufu, who has been leading the association for the past 2 years. Mr. Donu tells Joy Business he will strive to enhance the financial stability and growth of banks. The Ghana Trade Unions Congress, TUC, has said the country's wage bill is fragmented and requires appropriate input from organized labor to help overhaul the single spine salary structure. The Trade Union Congress General Secretary Kofi Asamoah, in an exclusive interview with Joy News, says they have agreed to negotiate the base pay yearly with the government before the annual budget is read. This, he says, will allow government to incorporate the cost into the budget.
The implementation of the single spine salary structure since 2010 is fraught with a number of challenges questioning its sustainability. The payment structure is seen to be mounting government's wage bill, with about 7.2 billion Ghana cedis so far spent in its implementation. President Mahama, after a 2-day conference with stakeholders, asked for recommendations to restructure the policy instead of scrapping it. Organized labor, among its recommendations, suggested that subvented government institutions should be taken of the single spine to reduce the huge wage bill. They, however, want details of the wage bill for proper scrutiny and restructuring.
Some workers have had a pay rise as a result of the implementation of the pay policy. We also know for a fact that not all workers had substantial rise or rise at all in their pay. So we would be able to accept or deny that huge wage bill if the wage bill is fragmented, is to give the details of what gets into the huge wage bill so that we will know who takes what, particularly because government wage bill is not only single spine. There are several others on the government wage bill who are outside the spine, particularly the Article 71 people, parliamentarians, judges, ministers of state, presidency, and everybody.
To ensure government is able to pay the salaries, they plan to operate the policy within the country's budget framework.
We got to an agreement that the single spine pay should be subjected to overall budgetary constraints of government. That is to say, that to operate within the framework of government's budget. And that government and organized labor would have to meet periodically to review the single spine pay policy and its implications in the short to medium and to long-term economic indicators. Again, we are agreed once again that every year we should negotiate the base pay before budget is read, so that government can incorporate the total cost of it in its annual budgets.
They have also pledged to do away with politics in negotiations and also ensure that indicators for productivity are strictly followed for salaries to commensurate workers' output.
And that's all for the business report. My name is Asare.
The severe rainstorm this afternoon has rendered over 500 people homeless in the Upper West region. The downpour, which lasted 3 hours, also destroyed and washed away properties believed to be worth millions of Ghana cedis. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
The past couple of months have seen the Wa municipality with little or no rain, thereby bringing lots of frustrations and disappointment to farmers. However, on Thursday afternoon, a heavy downpour which should have brought some joy for especially the farmers came at a cost. Over 100 houses and 500 people, including Yusuf Jebagadu, a resident of Dobile, were affected. The roads in the municipality were also not spared. Most of them are now unmotorable. The Upper West Regional Coordinator of the National Disaster Management Organization, Alhaji Seidu Bawa, spoke exclusively to Joy News after touring some of the affected areas.
Of course, we are coming in with some assistance in terms of beddings and other things that will keep them warm over the night. We know that most of them are relocating with relatives. You know, that is common of our people. They can't see them hanging out, and that is what is happening outside now.
He had this advice for residents.
You look into the sky, the clouds are still hanging. We don't know what can happen later in the night. So we do not want a situation where whilst you are asleep or anything of the sort, you know, this flood will come again and maybe cause a worse havoc. That one, it will be too bad. So we are asking everybody, at least that is within anybody living within this hazard zone, to move out at least and pledge with a relative for the night whilst we try to sort them out.
Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
The Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, the Ambassador of Burkina Faso, has paid a courtesy call on the President as he bid him farewell.
Ambassador Sini Pierre Sanu was grateful for his stay in Ghana and the Foreign Ministry support given to him during his stay. President John Mahama expressed his profound gratitude for Ambassador Sanu's excellent service, acknowledging the fact that his period of stay has brought a closer relationship between the two countries. President Mahama also made known of Ghana's trade links with Burkina Faso.
Aside from that cultural link, of course, we also have trade links and we have economic links. There's a lot of trading that goes between our people, especially in agricultural products. A lot of tomatoes and other agricultural products come from Burkina Faso, and in turn, a lot of maize and timber products and others also go from Ghana to Burkina Faso. And I think that is good for our sub-regional integration. Aside from that, we're trying to develop other links in the energy sector. As I speak, we're finishing the project financed by the West African Power Pool to connect our transmission grids so that Ghana can evacuate any excess power to Burkina Faso and through Burkina Faso to Niger and Mali.
Also at Flagstaff House was Dr. Mrs. Renate Kim-Kariet from Germany, also bidding farewell to the President. President John Dramani Mahama says Germany is one of the biggest trading partners and that he believes that Ghana's level of economic cooperation is not only significant but have the potential to grow.
Germany has continued to be a true friend of Ghana, not only in words but in deed. I mean, we enjoy very excellent diplomatic relations. We've exchanged officials at quite a high level over the years, and there's very strong technical cooperation between us. As at March 2013, the total value of economic cooperation between Ghana and Germany stood at 1.25 billion euro, and that's significant.
Time for the very latest in the world of sports. The Black Maidens are rounding up preparations for this weekend's African Women Under-17 World Cup qualifier against Congo at the Crossport Stadium. The Maidens are in the hunt for one of Africa's 3 slots for next year's FIFA Women Under-17 World Cup in Costa Rica. Head coach Evans Adote has been telling Joy Sports his charges are ready for the competition after 4 weeks of intense camping.
Of the opponent Congo Brazzaville, I have no idea as to how they play, but preparation is still ongoing just to get ourselves prepared and make sure we win massively on Sunday. Before 10-15 minutes we've captured them already, so my plan is to just wait for them. I'm only praying that they calm down. Come Sunday, Ghana is winning massively. That is why I'm saying I'm using my home advantage. Unlike clubs traveling outside or maybe to their neighboring countries, we just go in to defend and then think of maybe coming back to Ghana, we open the game. No, I have the chance of winning massively on Sunday. So my strategy is to map all attacking game. Whilst attacking, I'm also thinking of closing my door. That is my strategy for Sunday. I have only 4 or 5 players who are new to maybe to blend with the old squad. So the only thing is just to maybe map strategies, maybe teach them as to how to defend when the need arises, or maybe how to attack. It's a matter of just bringing them together.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Football Association has refused a request by the Congolese FA to have the qualifier postponed. The Congolese communicated officially they had difficulties in raising a team and a budget for the World Cup qualifier, but the FA has confirmed to Joy Sports they will still go on with the fixture as planned.
I have a personal determination to ensure that
3 Frenchmen, 2 Ugandans, 2 Canadians, Spain, Moldova, the USA.
Now, sorry about that. Minister for Youth and Sports, Elvis Afriyankwa, says he's committed to supporting the development of boxing at all levels in the country. The minister made these comments while having lunch with the country's boxers and kickboxers in Osu. He made a pledge to ensure Ghana ranks very high in boxing on the continent and across the globe.
I have a personal determination to ensure that the glory that this country had in terms of boxing, this country has produced great world-class fighters. Today, we don't have them the way we used to. And so, for our 2 champions, I want you to know that you have begun a long journey, and this is just the first step, and Ghana is looking at you and watching you, and therefore you must go out there and bring the real world champion, the world title, and bring it here. We believe that it is possible and you can do it. And apart from that, all the others, boxers, kickboxers, this country attained independence before many other African countries. But if we are not careful and become complacent, when you go for international conferences, you realize that other countries are really catching up fast.
That'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Adijuna. Do you have a great evening?
All right, the Supreme Court is not the typical setting for comedy, but yesterday gave those who've been following proceedings of the election petition a lot to laugh over. It was the contempt hearing for the New Patriotic Party General Secretary Kojo Osei and his colleague Osei Adoye, but the main characters were the President of the panel of justices, Justice Atuguba, and their counsel, Ayikwe Otu.
Right from the very word go, it became clear that Justice Atuguba, who has become famed for his ability to deploy humor to lighten up a tense atmosphere, had met his match in Ayikwe Otu. His task, though, a very daunting one, involved traversing the narrow road between pleading leniency for his client whilst making references to the law.
It's almost arbitrary. It is not defined, and the punishment, therefore.
Judicial function, judicial power is never exercised arbitrarily, please. Don't go there, don't go there. Don't go there this afternoon. No, don't.
Well, my Lord, I don't want to argue the matter, but that is what is contained in the Liberty Press case, is how my Lord, the Chief Justice, described it. That is almost arbitrary.
Use the word in any derogatory.
No,
you only wanted to show
the serious
immense powers that this court has.
Exactly.
Dealing with
exactly, my
Lord. His revival of an otherwise forgotten song was one classic moment.
When they get to the platform mood, momentarily forget themselves. Ordinarily, maybe I will not be singing Woyomi, Woyomi, but I find myself on the platform and I'll be singing Woyomi, Woyomi, Gargantua, Wunchebi.
He cites instances where some global leaders, having taken over by the moment, utter inappropriate words. He aptly likens it to being possessed.
As Oloshi rightly pointed out, something entered into him. Bishi, bishi. Bishi. You see, some power for which you don't have any control over. We call it bishi.
At a point when the tension was almost at fever pitch, Aikweotu again skillfully used his concern about the justice's health to calm him.
This is our trouble in this country.
My Lord may take heart. My Lord may take heart. As we grow, we begin to suffer from blood pressure.
You don't know me well. Look, I'm saying this just to make a certain point clear. My temperature has been, no. It's very, very normal.
He went on to patronize the justices using his familiarity and age.
Well, I've known you for years. When you want to take up judicial arms, you will do it. But I've pleaded with you today never to take up judicial arms. And you've been all very good colleagues of mine. I've known almost all of you in both practice and on the bench. We have been good colleagues. I've had my banters with some of them, including your brother on the extreme right. Yes, you know, banters with you. Banters. We've changed a few ideas. You know. So, my lord, Mrs. Akotobafu, we've been for years, from magistrate all the way to the Supreme Court. We've been a colleague.
He even threw in his birthday, all for the sake of his client.
Today happens to be my birthday. I think you might have heard it on the airwaves as well. A few people have wished me well. So, give me a birthday.
How old are you?
Oh, my Lord, I have a man, so I can mention. It's only 59.
59?
Yes.
I see. You don't think of coming to the bench to serve also? Politics.
Look upon these two gentlemen. Today, let's celebrate my birthday. Otherwise, you spoil everything for me. I don't know how I'm going to pop any champagne and enjoy. I've been calm and pleaded, and it's all gone. I believe
In the end, Oyautu not only earned for himself the birthday present he had wished for, but wide applause for his maturity, tact, and experience he employed to spare his client the 4 walls of jail.
Well, that's it. We end the bulletin, though, with a recap of the top stories. The chairman of the country's 2 main political parties, after meeting with national security, have pledged not to condone acts of lawlessness by their members. The University Senior Staff Association has announced a strike from Monday over what it describes as concerns with the migration of its members onto the single spine salary structure. More than 200 pupils of the Tamale MA Primary are without a school after the Lands Commission demolished the building to pave way for a redevelopment scheme. Amid growing concern about the safety of the high-rise buildings redefining Accra's skyline, city authorities have been asked to take their supervisory role more seriously. And then we also brought to you excerpts of yesterday's much-talked-about Supreme Court proceedings, which offered viewers and listeners bouts of humor they didn't have to pay to enjoy. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Israel Lion.